inspired by poetry.
Let's give it some lip.
Ta-da!
Oh, well, welcome back to another podcast with me, Ginna and T.B.
I am happy to be here as always.
It's so great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at poetry. We're going to get personal. We're going to look at our poetry, and we're going to talk about poetry as a means of navigating big emotions, big feelings.
I think that's good. And I think in a post-COVID environment, to think of poetry as more therapeutic is, I always think of it as, the big question, but sometimes it's just a thing that you need to, that's that chicken soup for the soul of feeling and I think that if more people looked at it, I have poems that I read every morning. Yeah. Right. That just gets me ready to go out my front door. And I think it's good. So I think that poetry can
motivate you, get you ready for the day.
It gets me to, it changes the mindset of how I see things. And when I get into my poem, I'll talk a bit more about that. But it also takes you through periods where, it's soul destroying and you need something. You need
to hold on to.
You need something.
That's right. Yeah. And it's interesting because in today's world, it's so easy to, the first thing you do, pick up your phone and start scrolling through news and things that are heavy and negative. Yeah. And that would set the tone for your day. Yeah. So I love that you start with reading poems that motivate you, that give you that different type of mindset so you can go into this world that does have ugliness, that does have pain, and you can see beauty even beyond it, transcend it.
And the power of doing the poetry is you can set the narrative, right?
That's right.
The poems you read set the narrative for how that's going to end because you know what it is. Yeah. So like you say, when you scroll through the news, it takes you to places you probably don't want to go, right? And for no reason. Like you don't even know why you're there.
There's no beneficial reason.
Yeah. There's none other than I've got 2 minutes to waste and I'm going to do that. Yeah. Whereas poetry for me is deliberate.
Yep.
The voice of a poet, the narrative is something I learn from, and I see meaning in every word and every line, and that for me gives a purpose. Like I can have my own personal discourse with a poem. Oh, do I see it that way today, or have I changed? That's right. So it has this intoxicating thing about it that makes me wanting more, or wanting to understand more what was intended.
That's right. I teach creative writing here at the University of the Sunshine Coast, and I always tell my students, everything is narrative. Yeah. When you look in the mirror, you're creating a narrative of how you're seeing yourself, how you feel about yourself, and that will dictate the way your rest of your day will go. And exactly that same idea. Like if we continually consume things that are of benefit, that are of value, that have purpose, that have truth, it's going to impact the rest of your life.
Of your life. That's very true. And I think what's a missed possibility, I know people are trialing it, but it could be more therapeutic than it actually is you have art therapy. But I think poetry is one of the most, for me that is, it's the most therapeutic thing. I can be left alone with it. And left alone with my thoughts and get to a better place. And the one thing I've learned through poetry is that I can curate the ending. Right?
There you go.
How I see the line.
That's right.
I can curate the ending.
You put the bow on it. You tie the strings into it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm never left not knowing. I'm always left with a conclusion of how I see things. Yeah. And I can create that. So for me, it's great. I wish more people would read poetry or write poetry and continue to add to that body of work because it's so important.
It is so important. And there's something about, maybe it's the special use of language or the form itself, but you can tap in to emotions and feelings in a more raw way in poetry than you can even in talking to your best friend.
And you know what? It's confined, right? It's like, it's limited.
Yes.
The thing I like about poetry is that you don't get to mourn forever,
That's right? That's right.
You've got to come. It's like the stage of grief. You get there.
That's right.
Like, you have to get through the process. So it doesn't belabor for on and on and on, but it lets you engage more meaningful every step of the way.
That's right.
So that's the beauty in it.
It is. That is a beauty. And you just mentioned grief.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about an elegy.
Yeah.
So the elegy is a poem that both mourns a loss but celebrates maybe the experience or the lesson that was had within that before the loss, and then finds a path out of it. And so when I teach the poetry class, I teach the elegy, and I let the students know, don't do anything that's too raw, that you're not ready to investigate in this way, because it does bring up some things. But last year, it was a year after my father's passing. Yeah. And I wrote this one in class with my students, and I thought I'll share it with you, because this week will mark 2 years. And so it's still raw. Like, there's no time limit on grief. Yeah. And you never know the thing that's going to trigger a memory. Yeah. And you have in that memory this kind of dual pain and joy. Yeah. Because you had the memory, but you feel that loss again. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, this is one that I was trying to show them the 3 different stages: the loss, the lesson, and then the healing that can happen. So this is how it goes. It's called Another Day. The cockatiel calls within its canopied bed, heralding the close of another day. The dusky hues of evening's passing cast a mournful shadow on the sill of my soul. Another day missing you. I heed well those lessons that you taught, how kindness first can mitigate conflict, how everyone suffers differently, how anything worth doing is worth doing well, how you may be the only joy another person experiences in their harrowing day. Another day imitating you. I awake to the laughter of the kookaburra, humorless humor confronted with nature's truth that death is the incessant reality of life. Yet a death mourned means a life well lived, a life of impact, a life of substance, a life that continues in those you love. Another day remembering you.
Wow. Your dad would have been proud.
Thanks.
and I love...
He was a wordsmith himself. So.
But I love the canvas that you've placed us on, right? And the descriptors that you've used throughout. It's not just talking about the grief, but the memories are captured. They're like photographs, right? Yeah. I feel like I'm going to looking through an album of the time that you spent together, and I think that's beautiful. Yep. It's a real way to celebrate those moments by capturing those things.
That's good. And I liked when I put it together, I liked that it ends at the close of a day, but it begins with a new awakening.
A new awakening. And that's a cycle of life, right? It's so the renewal at the end, I think, is beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
No, really, really good. But it does show how by putting your emotions into it, you can heal your soul at the same time. It's a comforting thing. Because I wasn't crying at the end, I was celebrating.
That's right. There's a smile.
There's a smile. Yeah. There's a smile.
Yep.
And remembering all of those moments, but yet the day starts anew, right? It starts anew.
Yep.
It's
it
really
continues
good.
and it continues, you know, and like I said, though, there'll be those times where something will remind you of that missing, but the remembrance holds with it the power and the beauty that you had that time together.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we're all at the stage I'm at that stage in life where my parents have passed away, and I wrote this during that period. I took a different approach to it, and I'll explain a little bit, but I have this, my philosophy in life is you never take anything into your future that's not good for you, right? So you have to know what to let go of, you need to know what to leave behind, and what to move forward with. So out of every moment or event that happens in my life, I think about what I can get from that in terms of a life's lesson and what I need to move forward with and what I need to leave behind. Not forgetting it, but sort of archiving it, if that's a good way to use it. So my mother passed away in 2000, so 20, maybe 2020 is when, I think December 2020. 89 years old, great rich life. And the one thing I wanted to leave with is the possibility. So I took a different approach than you did, but I can relate it back to the same time and what I was feeling. So this one's called Possibilities.
Nice.
So the thing I learned more. So if only I knew with certainty tomorrow the sun would smile, I could look forward to the warmth away from this, my longest mile. I could be inspired by a spring morning, filled with the possibilities of a vast open space, live in hope that I could disrobe from the shroud that keeps me in this place. I could visit for the first time, nesting boundless consequence, where I may ponder the possibilities of dreams and discover true magnificence. For I know that what confines me in the mindset of fear, I must expel in yonder to engage the enemy's spear. One day I will wake up smiling, and no one will know that inner peace has come to age, having found the room to grow, helped me unlock the possibilities that I have coveted all my life. Time discovered paradise, free from the chains of strife. For life does not guarantee what I am not willing to find myself. It only gives me the possibilities, which is all that remains on my shelf.
Ooh, that's wonderful. Yeah. That's really good. I love the progression of it. You can see the longest mile in the shroud at the beginning.
Yeah.
That there is something that is weighing heavy.
Yeah.
And then as it goes through, you see this lightening that's happening. The hope comes in. I think it's even mentioned in the poem.
Yeah.
And then we see this. It's almost like a curtain being opened and revealed this possibility, this future, this dream. Yeah.
And in that moment, similar to you, you're missing a loved one, and you could think of the grief or all of those things, but what my mother gave me was the possibilities of a future, right?
Yeah, that's right.
To have been on the planet for 89 years and to have done some good on the planet, but we've got to keep ourselves in that positive mindset. And what I didn't want to do is to shroud myself in the grave.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening. It's 2020. Everybody knows what happens in 2020.
Yeah.
And then the passing of a loved one, and I couldn't fly to see my mom for. I couldn't fly to the funeral, and I just thought,
that's hard.
It was hard. It was hard, but it was a decision I made that how from that the phoenix flies, right? And that's what I needed to do. So for me, the idea of the possibility, and I use this now, is anytime there is something in my life that is weighing me down, I use this as a way to remind myself.
Yeah, great.
That
there's a future.
There's a future. The renewal. The renewal comes at the end.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And that's still elegiac.
Yeah, it is.
So if you look at it, the first half has that kind of almost like sadness. With the shroud and the longest mile, there's the heaviness of it. Yeah. Then there's this moment in the middle where it's remembering the future, the possibilities, and then at the end it's the kind of the grasping of that.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I thought it would match yours.
Very nicely.
A little, because even though it wasn't my intent when I wrote it, it certainly has taken that form.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what I think that's so beautiful about poetry, right?
Agreed.
It's so therapeutic.
That's right.
Like when I think of my mother, I think of this.
Nice. That's
when I think of my mother, it's all the possibilities that she made available to me. And so I had to shift the way I thought about her life and the cycle of life and death, and just think of the possibilities and understanding that I had to take control.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
The curtains only open if I open them.
and the thing is, you can get swallowed by grief so easily.
You can.
Like, and to where that is what you see the world through.
Yeah.
Instead, like I think about grief, and I know everyone's different, but I think about grief as like it's my new paradigm that I sit with.
Yeah.
But it's not in front of me. It's kind of beside or within, or it's just. And sometimes it's more prominent than others, and other times, you just enjoy the possibilities, as you said. Enjoy the futures that are being presented.
And that's sort of the emergence of this is like the pavement. I see the parallel to the pavement. You can't, if you're distracted by the pavement, then you don't enjoy the walk, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So the grief is like the pavement. It's there. It's part of the journey that we're on, but I'm still going to enjoy the walk.
That's lovely.
Right?
That's a great analogy.
So
as a bushwalker who's always looking for roots on the ground.
And a woman who rarely walks but needs to walk more. But I always see it as the pavement along.
Yeah.
That, they're going to be, uneven surfaces. They're going to be all of these things. It's too hot. It's not comfortable. But enjoy the walk and think of what comes out at the other end, what you see at the other end. The possibilities.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your poem. Really, really enjoy it. And I really enjoy talking to you about poetry. Me too.
I have to tell, this makes my week.
It's so good, isn't it?
It makes I look forward to this because it makes my week. And I really do hope that what we're doing and what we're sharing is touching someone. That's right. It's touching someone in a meaningful way, because I live with this. This is my morning ritual. Yeah. So I really hope so. Ginna, yours touched me in a meaningful way too, because the sharing and the rawness, I think, of sharing the love that you have for whether it's your parent or another person, and the opening up of that it's a real blessing to us who get to listen to it.
Totally. It's
the sharing of the relationship. So thank you.
And it's all about the words, and the power of them, the way you put them together. Like yours as well. There was one where you had, I think, an alliteration of the P sound, and it just that very kind of open P, which is like.
Yeah, and I try to do that often, by the way.
It's good. It's really good.
I try to do that often.
Yeah. And it has that hope attached to it, because P is it's playful in a way, and so it lifted it from that heaviness that we heard at the beginning.
Try to make it a bit musical as we go
good.
along. Yeah.
That's good. So, excellent. Well, I think we're going to be bringing in some guest poets as well, so we'll get to hear other poetic processes and inspirations, and I just find this fulfilling.
Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
I look forward to opening it. I mean, it's a process that different people use, but the sharing of it is so meaningful.
That's right.
So let's all be inspired by poetry.
Let's do it. Okay. Thank you again for joining us. And I hope that you got something out of this, and that maybe you yourself try a little bit of poetry.
Yes. Agreed.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Have a good day.